Hi everyone, it's Adrienne, the Victoria Paper Shaper, and I'm going to show you a card that I originally created in November, but then I did another couple versions of it, and people have asked for a video, so I'm going to show you that. And if you wind up ordering anything, please use this current host code, and you'll be entered into my monthly draw for a fabulous prize. So this was the original card. And it's pretty straightforward to create this one from using the Well-Suited Suite, which I have here somewhere, but now I can't find it because it got buried. I don't know where it's gone. Oh, there it is. So it's this has a bunch of items out of it, which I'll show you in a bit. But when I saw this suite presentation for it, this was what immediately came to mind, because this has been our lives, right, for the past year. Business on top and party on the bottom. If I have to do yet another Zoom meeting, I think I'll die. And so here is the version I'll be showing you today. So geared a little more to people who don't wear suits on the top. So it's going to be like a sweater or a shirt, what have you. So to start on this one, what you'll want to use is a thick card base, and they're 5.5 by 8.5, and you're scoring it 4 1/4. And then I used on that last card the Flowers for Every Season DSP. It features the new in colors for this current year. And I'll show you the dies that I've used from the Well-Suited Suite. So this is the V, right? So you're going to cut your piece of paper into 4 1/4 by 5.5, and I leave about 1 inch of the V off the paper. Otherwise, it's going to wind up being a bit more of a party on top. Here at this point, once you've cut this out, you could also choose to add a lapel or a collar. I have one where I've partly made it that has the lapel on it. So there you go. And this was for suspenders, but I turned it into a placket for the front on both of those. And the last one from this suite that I use is this adorable little guy that's designed to create buttons, and it does buttons, but I flip the buttons over and make a necklace, and did that on both of these cards. Just better get these out of the way. So after you've cut out your 4 1/4 by 5.5 piece and you've done your V, you can decide whether or not you're doing lapel or what have you. The next step is the placket, and I use the same DSP on this one, and then a contrasting DSP on this one. And optionally on this one, I don't know if you can see it, but I embossed it with the Lace Dynamic Embossing folder. And on this one, I just kept it plain. So it's just, you know, personal preference. So once you've embossed this, if you're embossing it, then you'll put the placket on. So I put it on after it was embossed. I think otherwise it would have just wound up getting all squished up. Now you don't need the length of the entire placket. This is really long, and you're only needing about half of it. It works out. Now this is an old retired DSP, but just to show you, if you've trimmed your paper, if you're using a 6x6 and you've cut off your, oh my gosh, basic math, your 1 3/4 here, and then you've got a 1/2 inch to cut off here. This is perfect. So I should move up so you can see. This is perfect for this. So it's a great way to sort of use up that bit of paper. Okay, so you've cut this out and embossed it if you're embossing it. Don't put it onto your card base yet. So you'll get your placket on, and you can put the buttons on. Now the way that I did the buttons was I put the actual button, I'll show you here, if you can see, like right on to the glue dot. And then you can use your nails or your pokey tool that has a different name, but I forget what it's called. And you just take it off and then put it on. But I found this way, lining them all up, because there were so many on here, was just sort of the surest way of getting things where they need to be. Okay, so you've made your top, you've put on the V, you've put on your placket, and if you're putting on your lapel, you've done that, and you've put on your buttons. Now, there's a if you're putting the lace on, I don't know if you can see this one, hang on. I'm all over the place today, goodness. If you want the lace, you're gonna turn over your DSP and put it on the back. I just use the multi-purpose liquid glue, and you need about, probably about 2 4-inch pieces. Then you can line up the way you want and just trim off the top. Yeah, so then you're going to attach the shirt to the card front, and I just use multi-purpose liquid glue for that. For the necklace, here's a tip. Punch out a hole or use a die cut to get the circle you want. This one is slightly bigger, but this just helps you sort of, it takes it from being nice to being perfect. Now, yeah, I am a bit of a perfectionist, sorry. So I put that down and used it as a stencil to attach these to make sure that they were all equal and not, my necklace wasn't lopsided as it would be in real life. Okay, so once you've done that, you're onto the pants. And for the pants, I used the same DSP, but I found a slightly wilder pattern. So it's from the same packet. And I cut it out at 3.5 by 3 3/4. Now, just as an aside, I did try making them smaller. And this is again the old all dressed up DSP. I tried making them smaller just to see it, to economize paper. Because if you're using 6x6 paper, then this uses 2 sheets. This would only use 1. But I don't think it looks as good because there's something about the shape that changes, but I will show you and let you judge. So this is what happens, what you get if you're using 3 by 3, or sorry, 3-inch wide versus 3.5 inch wide versus that. So it's like not a huge difference, but it's enough that I think it makes a difference. So for me, I'll probably continue to make them this size, but it's just if you want to save paper, that's the way to do it. Okay, so for your pants, so you want to cut out 2 pieces that are 3.5 by 3 3/4. I cut them out at the same time so that they wind up being the same. And then you're going to put it in your paper trimmer. I'm just going to grab that to show you. So you're going to put it in your paper trimmer just to take off, to cut it at an angle. So what I did, I've already cut it just to expedite things, is I had the 3.5 inch mark there, and then I moved this over until it was a 1/2 inch there. So you have the top or the waist in the tray here, and then you slide it over 1/2 inch, and then you're cutting. And you do that on both sides, and that's what creates this fun shape. And again, I do both at one time just to make sure they're the same. Otherwise, you could wind up, because you see both sides, you could wind up having them being uneven. So the crotch is about 1.5 inches up from the bottom. And what I did for that was I just measured up 1.5 inches, marked it with a pencil, and then depending on exactly where you cut it, measured the halfway mark there, and then just use my paper snips to go up to the spot that I'd marked. And you can probably still see the mark right there. And I just snip, snip. And that doesn't have to be perfect, but there you go. And again, I cut both at the same time so that they would be identical. Now, after you've done that, and it was about, for this, sorry, it's about slightly less than 1/4 inch in on each side, so that this winds up being about 3/8 of an inch, this space. And again, there was some trial and error, but that just seemed to give sort of the best look, in my opinion. But feel free to experiment and use like old paper or paper that doesn't matter to you to do those experiments. Okay, legs. I used Petal Pink, and I cut out 2 legs, two by 5/8 inch pieces, but then I wound up trimming them down. I just like to start with a slightly bigger piece and then decide how skinny I want to make it depending on everything else. So these are, I think these ones are a little bit bigger than that one. And again, I did that business of putting it in and just trimming it at a slight angle on one side only. So one side is straight. Let's see if I can illustrate this. You see? So one side is straight and one side goes in, and it just, in my opinion, sort of makes it look more, is it human? I don't know. I just like the look. For the fuzzy slippers, oh my God, layering circles. I think this is the second smallest, what would you call that? Ruffled one, scalloped. Scalloped is probably the technical term, because it's sure not called the fuzzy slippers die. Anyways, so you want to cut out 2 circles with this. And I used Magenta Madness. I think this is like the perfect use of this cardstock, which, personal opinion, is so bright. I haven't made any cards from it yet, but I'm having great fun with it for stuff like this. So you cut out 2 circles, and then what you're going to do, just to show you what I've already done here, again, just to expedite things, is in your paper trimmer, you're going to cut off a 1/2 inch there, and then you're going to turn it around and cut off a 1/2 inch there. Like, so you wind up with 2 of these and this. Now this is something you're going to want to keep, because what you're going to do is wind up making your tassel from it. And to do the tassel, I just sort of cut up doesn't have to be perfect, sort of like a triangle, and then on the scallop bits I just went up a little bit to make the tassel. Waste not, want not, right? Okay, so I'll show you how I do these. Now, the reason you're making 2 of them is because there's a front and a back. And because you can see it, like I like things to look good on both sides. So that's why I've done that. Okay. So for the assembly, and I didn't do this part because this is pretty straightforward, and I figured if you're making this card, you probably already know how to use a die cut machine. Okay. A little bit of glue and a leg and a slipper. And so I just line up the little scallops just to get them in there. And I want to make sure the legs are sort of in the same kind of position. So those look good. There you go, 2 feet. Now to get them into the pajama bottoms. Now this is a really pretty pattern, but the whole reason we don't want to use it is because that wouldn't be much of a party on the bottom. That would be a cute outfit. And this may still be a cute outfit, but it's more of a party on the bottom. So when you're assembling this, something you need to keep in mind is it's going inside this card. So you need to make sure that the length is going to be okay for it to fold up and that the little feet aren't popping out. On the very first one I made, you can see the little foot slides out. I mean, it would still fit in with an envelope. It would be fine. But the whole thing about this card is the element of surprise. Now, if you've seen the photograph of the one I did for the priest at our church, he had no idea. He opened this card yesterday, and so it was black with the placard and the collar. And oh, this is so lovely. And he opened it up, and there were like, you know, bright red shorts on the bottom, business on top, party in the bottom. Oh my gosh, he could not stop laughing. But if he'd seen it, you'd lose that element of surprise. So you really want to have it sort of tucked away until that very last moment. Okay, so what I'll do is just sort of compare it to this. Looks pretty good. So, whoops, what did I do? Ah! Oh, I tell you, my brain. Okay, so I'll put a little bit of glue. Actually, I'm going to put the glue here, and just a little. And then I'm just going to make sure that this is about the right length. And you can tweak how the feet go. Like on these ones, I turned them in a little, and I think that was really kind of fun because it just sort of makes it more casual. Oops, it's sticking. Here we go. So I'm just going to play with them until I like where they're at. There we go. And that's why I use the multi-purpose liquid glue. And I leave a good border around the edge so that it doesn't squelch out. And then I'm just going to flip this over, carefully removing the cat hair. They're everywhere onto this. And then just line it all up. It's so cute. Oh my goodness. Okay, so you then need to score it at a 1/2 inch. Okay. Make sure you got score. I'm going over it a couple times because there are a few layers there. And for this last bit of assembly, I would recommend the tear and tape because it's anything else I just don't know if it would be secure enough. So before you attach it, you want to look at it and okay, one of those slippers is there we go. decide which side you like the best and then make that the outside. So yeah, it's like sometimes it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. And the tear and tape is lovely because you do just that. Figure out how much you need, tear it off, and stick it on. And I put it on fairly close to the score line because that's where you need the strength. And I leave about 1/8 of an inch at the bottom just to show you what I mean. So right there, I had that little space. This I added afterwards because I wasn't sure where everything was going to wind up. And it was kind of an afterthought. But I might see about sticking it on now. Let me just see. Okay, I'm going to stick it on now because it'll actually catch the tear and tape edge. So we'll see if it works. This is an experiment. Okay, so making sure it's the front, bottom, and centering it. And about 1/8. So that folds up nicely. Let's put that one away. Okay. Open it. There you go. A fun card. For the greeting, I just made the greeting because we don't actually have a stamp that says anything quite like what I wanted to say, which business on top, party on the bottom. But this would be great for a thank you card, birthday, congratulations, or a thinking of you card. Yeah, there you go. If you guys have any questions, feel free to message me. Please like and subscribe, and you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks so much, everyone. I hope you have fun with it. Bye.